and I don't know who's cracking ice cubes on the other end, but we have with us two folks, one of whom you'll remember very well, and that is Adam Gorightly and his compatriot Doug Hawes, who have ganged up together and done a barbarous attack on Tuesday Weld, who's one of my icon heroes. So what's the deal with this? And first of all, I'm sorry, I'm greasing you. But Adam and Doug, both of you, one at a time, give us a hey, will you?
Hey there.
That's
hey.
Good. All right, Doug, you win. So, all right, look, Tuesday Weld is a hero of mine. And what are you doing besmirching her good name? Doug, you want to take away with this or what?
Well, I first of all should say that there are a lot of secret societies that are active in the United States and in other countries.
Agreed. Sure.
And just that because Tuesday Weld has connections in the secret society realm is not necessarily besmirching her name. A lot of people are involved in secret societies. For one thing, for many years, the Hollywood industry had a important mafia influence in it, and the La Cosa Nostra is a secret society where they actually have a ceremony which people rumored about what exactly they did, and nobody was quite sure until Joe Valachi came forward, I guess, in the early 60s. And
the Valachi Papers, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically said this is exactly what the initiation involves, and nobody quite knew until then. It was a secret society. So there are a lot of secret societies active in the United States.
Well, as Adam would tell you, and I mean, of course, I'm giving you the business about Tuesday Weld, because Hollywood, even by its name, has taken that moniker very interestingly, and is a weaver certainly of fantasy. And in that fantasy, we've come, at least the listeners to this show, to understand that much truth is told. Adam's been with me for quite a number of years. I mean, we might have done shows like once every couple of months, but the both of us have kind of traversed this landscape, and of course, he also understands that things go bump in the night on his end. So like I said, I'm kidding you about Tuesday Weld, although she's got a bloodline that does bear some kind of scrutiny, and I would not have known it necessarily, but let me preface this one more time. I can't remember whom I was interviewing, but as an entree to taking that guest on, whoever was brokering it said, and if you will have such and such on, I'll get you Tuesday Weld. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And I went, I thought it was kind of like a bait and switch, and I didn't care because the guest I had on, and I will tell you, I cannot remember who he or she was, but whoever that guest was, we were pretty good. We were fine. That Tuesday Weld was never gotten on, or perhaps could never be interviewed, is besides the point. So I will say, yes, something interesting is going on there, and some listeners have emailed to that effect, especially after hearing you and Adam, I guess a couple of weeks ago, maybe, it's more than that, as time goes so quickly, about just who she might have been hooked into. So now, having said that at some length, I'll throw it back to you. What is the deal? What are we looking at? I mean, is Weld hooked into some kind of European bloodlines that carry some heavy mojo?
Well, that's the argument, is that there's a whole network of families with roots in the British Isles that maintain underground secret society traditions. Mm-hmm. Some of them are Freemasonic families. Some of them are more oriented towards the Druidic to a Druidic underground tradition. And the claim is that the Weld family is one of those families that is involved in the underground Druidic tradition. The Collins family is another one. And Jeff Turner, of course, is the source of most of this information. He's very into a book called Bloodlines of the Illuminati, and he says it's a real good book, but the one big oversight in the book is it has no mention of the Weld family among those bloodline families.
All right, Adam, I'm sorry, Adam, you want to chime in on this at all? I mean, you know where I'm coming from, and you're obviously a very well apprised of what Doug has done. How do you see this whole situation, knowing from both orientations that we come?
Let me tell you first, there's a thunderstorm going on outside, so if I get cut off...
Is this just outside your...
Why.
Wait, is this just...
zapped. Be careful.
Adam, is this just outside your house, or is this like a regional thing?
It's a kind of localized regional thing here. Okay. But if I do get cut off, it's not necessarily Tuesday Weld's henchman.
All right, so and you know we will call you back.
And I apologize for clinking the ice in my glass and for...
oh, you're the guy.
Yeah, and for giving you a hard time about your golden years.
Adam, that you would ever stop doing that would be more of an affront to me. And Mac White and I said, yes, there will be paybacks. All right, so after...
Okay, back to Tuesday Weld.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I can't... Doug and Jeff are kind of the experts on this bloodline stuff, but let me tell you how I got involved in this and why I find it so interesting. You know, I'd heard lightning outside. Woo! Started an email correspondence with Doug. It's been a few years now. And he mentioned this Tuesday Weld was a member of the Illuminati and all this, and I go... Man, that's one of the most craziest far-out things I've ever heard. And as I continued my discussions with him and later on went out and met with Jeff Turner in Santa Cruz, even though the story was really far out, there seemed to be something at the core of it, kind of like the James Shelby Downard, some of the stuff he gets into, you know. It seems like it's just too preposterous, to believe in, but the more you look into it, the more it kind of worms its way into your psyche. So I think there's something there at the core of it, whether Doug and Jeff have it all down exactly right, I'm not sure, but, you know, the more I looked into it, the more I heard other people kind of come forward, like you'd mentioned somebody approached you about a Tuesday Weld interview, and there's allegations from other people that she might have been an MK Ultra patsy of some sort. And from another source, a psychic in New York, I heard that she counseled and did a psychic reading for Tuesday Weld in the late 70s, and that she was the impression that Tuesday Weld had got involved in some dark magical order. All these type of stories, even guest you had on recently, Ty Brown, dealing with the Jeremy Blake and Teresa Duncan murder. Interestingly enough, there was a Tuesday Weld connection there. She spoke about in her blog before she died, exposing MK Ultra operations and even Scientology. And interestingly enough, it turns out that she was a big fan of Tuesday Weld. In fact, she named her dog Tuesday, and she died on a Tuesday. So these are the type of weird synchronicities that seem to pop up when looking into this case. So that's kind of where I come from. It's just infinitely fascinating, this whole thing about Tuesday Weld and some type of Illuminati conspiracy.
Well, Doug, let me throw this out to you too, as well as Adam. But I've had on a clinical psychologist out of University of California, San Diego, who deals with ritual abuse victims and trying to get them back on track, and she does great stuff. And I'll say her name, Ellen Lagter, just a great human being. And we go back and forth in emails off the record, more or less, about, and she's saying, you know, you've got this whole paradigm of New World Order, you know, you're kind of overreacting. She says, I deal with these groups all the time, and they're fighting within themselves, and they're never going to get anything straight. Now, I don't doubt what she says. I've said, I think you have to look beyond what's going on there. And so, Doug, here's where I'm going with this. I think you're imputing to Tuesday Weld or the Weld line a great deal of global impact, and I'm not going to discount that. And if you can speak to that, do so. Also, I don't decry whatsoever that Weld and that line, and Hollywood, which is a really strange place, has a lot of things going on within themselves out there, and there's a long history to that. So, to distill it down, let me ask you this. How globally do you think that Weld and her antecedents have impacted, shall we say, just global machinations?
Well, let me give you an illustration of what I perceive going on here, and I'll go back a little bit in the history.
Okay.
And you probably remember from childhood shows from the early 60s, maybe the late 50s, like The Outer Limits,
Dobie Gillis?
Twilight Zone.
Yes.
No, let's not go there yet. Twilight
Okay,
Zone.
yeah, I do.
He has no problem remembering back that far at all.
Stop. No, Douglas, yeah, you're right. I mean, I love them, and I'm watching them still. No problem.
Well, these shows were, coming out during a period, the Cold War, and, America
Yes.
and the Western world was very dark. There was a lot of fear of nuclear war.
Agreed.
There's even now we're only getting a little bit of awareness of exactly how advanced and involved scientific and military research was going on at like remote bases in the desert and the sort of things that were going on in the 50s and 60s during the Cold War. And you see these shows like Outer Limits, you see Twilight Zone, and it was a very dark period. And, of course, that was the period of McCarthyism.
Agreed.
And so Weld appears on the scene as a young starlet, and she really tears up Hollywood. I've been reading the biography on her, Pretty Poison, the Tuesday Weld story by Floyd Connor, and it really captures just how big an impact she made as this, like, kind of wild child, precocious, beatnik kind of personality, doing whatever she wanted, defying social conventions, and she kind of had a cult following in Hollywood, and basically a lot of people were drawn to her. She was a unique personality. Now, in terms of a secret leadership role, during that period of time, it could make. First of all, the assertion is she's from a bloodline family. She's been appointed to be like in a leadership role in this underground tradition because she's shown the gifts, she's shown the charisma, the personality, the leadership qualities, and the reason she could have gained so much connectedness and get people following her is because throughout the Western world there was a lot of artists, bohemians, cultural people that are like they're looking for a paradigm shift. They're trying to break out of this Cold War rigid mentality that the society is dominated by, and Tuesday Weld flourished in that kind of environment in the early 60s. When Jeff says she had connections in Paris and London and the East Coast establishment and Hollywood behind the scenes, and you can see why she could have gained a following among these elite cultural circles that are looking for direction. They're looking for kind of like an icon or a leadership from some circles.
But Doug, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because to a certain extent, I mean, people aren't really thinking too much about Tuesday Weld. I mean, but I would liken her to probably a modern-day Madonna, but be that as it may, I'll say this to you. She was somebody who came on the scene early. She was born in 43, I guess, so she was 20 when she started hitting the films. But she kept her sensuality extremely, let's face it, an extremely alluring sexual person through what, 84 when she made that movie Once Upon a Time in America?
Okay.
And that was that was a pretty hot role. But my point is that she has had health, she has had staying power, and I think beyond those of her ilk, if you will. And I'm not saying that in its sense, means that she's got some kind of like mojo going, but it seems that those who have that kind of resiliency and this somewhat extended, youthfulness, seem to be hooked up into something else, and I would include in that not only Madonna, but Tina Turner. So going back to Tuesday Weld, she seems to be around for always, and people don't realize she's been populating the landscape with her presence for like 4 decades.
But the difference is that in the late 50s and early 60s, she was a real sensation, and the Hollywood tabloids, all they could talk about was Tuesday Weld. She basically was the talk of the town. She was just defying every social convention. She was just causing scandals and raising eyebrows, and all the gossip columnists in Hollywood were like fixated on her.
So Doug, you're saying that in a sense, I mean, she was the enfant terrible, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She was a cultural figure of importance, and a lot of people have never even heard of her now. But she was a real sensation in the late 50s in Hollywood, and the assertion that Jeff Turner puts forward is that she was actually made queen and high priestess of the Druids in kind of like a ritual ceremony involving the crash of the plane carrying Buddy Holly and Richie
Valens and the Big Bopper.
And the Big Bopper.
Richardson, yeah.
And Turner comes up with stuff that doesn't make sense sometimes. Like he says there was a gun found in the wreckage, and I don't know. To me, if that was to be pulled off, it'd be more logical for some unknown hand, like a mechanic at the shop, to sabotage a plane so it's going to like fail like a minute or two after takeoff or something like that.
But clarify what you think might be or might not be the connectivity between Weld and the crash of the plane that carried those 3 luminaries.
Well, the whole point there would have been the handlers, the people that were in this network who did this, and it would be like this whole network giving out orders like, okay, we're going to sabotage this plane, and this is what this is going to signify. This is going to be her initiation rite. In other words, Weld herself might not have even she might not have initiated it.
Did she profit by it all, though, either?
Well, see, in a Druidic worldview, human sacrifice is an element in it, and
so she exacted the price on them. That would have, I guess, boosted her status, if you would, in the Druidic community. Would that be right?
Something like that.
Okay.
Turner's the expert on this stuff.
Okay.
I'm kind of reflect his what he's gone through, the experiences he's had. I mean, he's the person who's actually talked to Tuesday Weld. I mean, he's actually run into her on sets. He was approached her at film festivals. He actually talked to her at her apartment once in New York City in Manhattan, and knocked on the door and things like that. I mean, I have never even met her face to face. So Turner has some excellent stories, though. His stories are truly amazing. Like the time he was hanging out at Ken Galante's shop in Manhattan. It's called the Silver Screen. And Ken Galante, I'm not exactly sure exactly what his connections are, but Jeff says he had powerful mafia connections, and was in a string puller in Hollywood, because the mafia has pull, or used to have pull in Hollywood.
Agreed.
So
yeah.
Ken Galante ran the Silver Screen right up until sometime in the 90s. It's no longer open. It's closed now, but it was open in the 90s, and I actually called them once and asked them if they could track me down some Tuesday Weld film, A Safe Place, I believe, and I talked to Galante over the phone. And Jeff used to hang out at the Silver Screen. He was befriended by Galante. He actually went to some mafia watering holes with Galante, like Van Ness Recreation Center, and which is in the Bronx. And one time, Ken Anger came in there, or maybe several times. Mm-hmm. And Ken Anger was a friend of Ken Galante. He was living in Manhattan or somewhere in the greater New York area, and he would drop by. And Jeff got in this hour or 2 hour long conversation with Ken Anger. And of course, Ken Anger was the person who wrote Hollywood Babylon. And, he did a movie with Chris Jagger, Mick Jagger's brother in there, and also Marianne Faithfull, called Invocation of My Demon Brother, and he was in the Church of Satan in the early days, and kind of a colorful character. And he told Jeff that Weld is an important figure. You're not going to hear this, but you're not going to read about this, but she's a person that's powerful behind the scenes in Hollywood, and she's involved in all this stuff. And Anger talked to Jeff for like an hour or two at the silver screen, and sometime in the mid '80s.
Okay.
And another fascinating Turner story is he actually he met I think Henry Jaglom or Hank Jaglom. I'm not sure the name, but he's a film director. He was in he was in the movie Psycho, I believe, with Jack Nicholson, and that like cult film from the 60s. And later he directed A Safe Place with Tuesday Weld and Nicholson, and also Orson Welles appeared in that film. And Jeff was at a film festival in San Francisco, a Weld Film Festival, and I think it was Jaglom was there as well. But later he actually went to Jaglom's office at International Rainbow Pictures in Hollywood. And Jeff says it was an Illuminati nerve center throughout the 80s and 90s. It was like a center of Illuminati power in Hollywood. And we drove by it one time when we were down in L.A. cruising around. But he went up there and he was allowed access to Henry Jaglom's private office. And Jaglom told him about Tuesday Weld's power in Hollywood and said, there are some things that you can talk about with others, but there are other things that cannot leave this room. Is that understood? And then Jaglom basically confirmed some of the information Jeff had already heard, and then told him all sorts of stuff he had never heard of before. And it's just like, but see, Jeff is a primary source because he actually went through these things. It's not like he reading magazine articles or coming up with this. He actually talked to people in the industry. He talked to Joel Schumacher when he was filming The Lost Boys in Santa Cruz in 1986, and he went to the set. They were filming on the beach boardwalk in Santa Cruz, and he asked Joel Schumacher, "Is Tuesday Weld involved in this movie?" Schumacher told him, kind of confirmed a few things, but nothing like Jaglom did.
All right, now, one other thing just to clarify, because, people will jump on a misstatement. The cult movie you said that Nicholson was in was what?
A Safe Place, and Adam says he's been able to track it down. I've spent years trying to get a copy of it and had no luck.
What about that, Adam?
I do have a copy, yes.
Okay.
I want one. Send it in the mail.
Okay. And what do you need to know? Actually, I don't think I've been able to sit through the whole thing. It's pretty surreal movie, but Orson Welles is in it, as well as Jack Nicholson and Tuesday, of course.
All right.
And it's one of those movies that's filled with a lot of symbolism, and you could probably read a lot into it if you look deeply enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, Adam, you're well aware of this, and Doug, if you're not, this is not a big aha. But as I had alluded to earlier, we look at Hollywood as being the, magicians of fantasy, in a sense of this. Adam, I think you're well aware of this, that we have said that, the wands of the Druids were made from the wood of the holly wood. And I don't think that's any kind of coincidence, and I think that's obviously those who have listened to the show and many of the guests have contributed to the fact that, Hollywood entertainment in general is a tremendous mind manipulator and predictive programmer. And what's the big deal about that? Why should that be a big aha? And Doug, that's what you're saying also, even before any of us, kind of got hip to what was going on. That's why it's not a big stretch for you to say that what Will was involved with was, out of the ballpark, not by any means.
My argument is that, and this is what Jeff says, is the Druids under Tuesday Weld were trying to get their worldview to gain ascendancy, and they've been successful because the rock and roll cultural revolution, sexual revolution, free love, all that stuff has prevailed against the old rigid social morality that we inherited from the past. And that revolution was successful.
Oh, believe me, I know. Don't say a thing, Adam.
My favorite Illuminati film is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
And the reason I find it very fascinating is because the big star in the show is like what the transsexual transvestite from Transylvania.
Yep.
And the thing about Transylvania, you got to be aware of this. There's all sorts of focus on Transylvania in literature, and in it has a very important place in
sure.
the occult traditions. Transylvania is considered one of the great power centers of the world, and specifically the manor where, according to legend, Count Rakoczy lived. He was considered to be the incarnation of the ascended master Saint Germain, and he was like this European figure who walked around the royal courts of Europe and appeared in France and did miracles and was like this occult master, and he's considered to be the ascended master overlooking the creation of the United States of Europe. And the occult traditions are very aware of the significance of Transylvania as a power center, and the place where Count Rakoczy lived, and also the previous incarnation of Saint Germain, which was János Hunyadi, the great Hungarian national leader of the 1500s, was also an incarnation of Saint Germain.
Doug, let me ask you one other thing. I don't know this is in the continuum, and if I'm out of line, just breeze by it. But when you talk about these personages from those centuries, where does Dracul fit in that? Or Vladimir the Impaler?
Well, that's the funny thing is Bram Stoker was hung out with OTO, Ordo Templar Orientis circles for a while.
Okay.
When he was like in, I guess, swinging London of the late 19th century, and the swinging London of that day or whatever. But anyway, Bram Stoker shifted the direction of the novel, and instead of the historic Vlad the Impaler, who's just this like Romanian Wallachian prince who's probably uneducated and just bloodthirsty and cruel and warlike, he changes Dracula into this elegant Hungarian aristocratic noble of the greatest like Hungarian high nobility, because Hungary has a famous noble tradition. I mean, the aristocrats of Hungary, remember, they were the ones who hosted Haydn, like that Count Esterházy. Haydn composed like half his symphonies for Esterházy's court. And these guys were, the greatest Hungarian, greatest among the greatest European nobles. And Stoker changed the traditional Vlad, who's just this like low-class, boorish gentry, lowly prince who's like uneducated, bloodthirsty, eats human flesh. There's all these horror stories about him.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, and he changes Dracula into this like Hungarian high noble who lives in this fabulous castle and has ancient books and and it's very interesting. Why did he do that? I think he might have been influenced by the lore of Saint Germain and Count Rakoczy, and that might have had an impact on his changing of the Dracula figure for his novel.
Also, Doug, in the Christianic scenario, the angel of light, that which would be Satan and Lucifer, would come unto you as a very cultivated human being, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So that facade is not necessarily unheard of, prior to or after that whole legend. So, thanks for speaking to that. And by the way, we're about halfway through the show. And Doug, I don't know if there's any kind of websites that you would want to have people go to with regard to what we're speaking about. But at this time, just tell us if there's some resources or some websites you would have people check out with regard to what we're talking about today.
All I know about is old magazine articles and books, and the ones that come to mind are a book that's recently been put back in print after decades of being out of print, and that's Popular Witchcraft, and it was published by Bowling Green University Press in 1972. It's written by, I believe, John Fritcher, and it mentions Tuesday Weld in a chapter called Straight from the Witch's Mouth, which basically is a chapter that is an interview with Anton LaVey. And Anton LaVey talks about Tuesday Weld in that interview, and that's an important document. That's originally published in 1972 and was out of print for 30 years or more. Another interesting thing is the New Times interview with Tuesday Weld that came out, I believe, 1977, right after the release, or during the time when the Eagles released Hotel California.
Oh yeah.
Which, according to tradition, is about a weird ritual scene that took place at the Chateau Marmont, that old, decaying residential hotel on Sunset Boulevard up against the Hollywood Hills. And the lore is that Anton LaVey was kind of like the leader of that, but Jeff Turner says Tuesday Weld was also there at that Chateau Marmont kind of high society satanic scene that took place there that the Eagles talk about in the song Hotel California.
Well, let me ask you this, Doug. I was trying to come up with this in a previous interview, and it's been a long time, since we've all been removed from having actual albums in our hands, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now I have not gotten the CD Hotel California, but I do remember opening up the album to take a look at the inside photos. Can you confirm for me whether or not, one, there was a photo of Anton LaVey hanging from, shall we say, I guess, the upper floor in that central photo, or if there was a character who approximated the look of Anton LaVey for that photo on the inside credits of the album Hotel California. Does that ring a bell at all?
Oh, yeah, I still keep a copy of Hotel California, not to listen to the music so much, because everybody's familiar with the music.
Sure.
For the pictures, and sure enough, if you open up, it's a fold-out album.
Yes.
And there's all these people in this central lobby.
That's right.
And up there on a balcony in the shadows, you kind of can make out this figure, and the legend is that's Anton LaVey. Now, that's the urban legend. There's a lot of people that are like out there that are spread around this urban legend. And I heard it from these young high school Satanists in Santa Cruz. So I only heard it once, but these weren't like researchers. These are just kids. And they said, oh, that's Anton LaVey. He was the one who was in charge of that Hotel California. It was a satanic scene. And these are just high school kids,
Well, that's what I understand, too.
Yeah. And urban legend.
Well,
Now, of course, Viz, you were looking at the picture on an old 8-track tape. So it's a little more difficult to see it,
Adam,
as opposed to the album.
Adam, understand something. I hate you, and I always will. No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I have to tell you, things have changed since we've gone to CD, no doubt about it.
You're mentioning CDs now, and those have about gone by the wayside. I can't keep up. Hey, I was going to mention you're talking about resources, and I'd like
Sure.
Doug to speak to this. Really an important one, I think, is the movie Lord Love a Duck. There seemed to be a whole lot of symbolism in that movie.
All right, Lord Love a Duck is pretty interesting. Jeff Turner claims it was the movie that was to become the Illuminati wanted it to be the big summer hit in the summer of 1966 and lead to like a youth kind of like cultural rebellion, revolution. It was going to be like a mass phenomena. And Jeff says that the right-wing elements in Hollywood, the Nazis, he calls them, although I think that's a little bit too simplistic, went around and were stealing the reels from the movie theaters. They would actually just go in there and nobody's looking, they'd steal the reels, and they couldn't show the movie at a bunch of theaters. This is what Jeff claims took place.
Well, Doug, I'll tell you that. As much as Adam will do what he does as far as my advanced age, I will tell you this. Yeah, that movie was never even. I mean, even though I might have been a jock and all that stuff at the time, but still, that title never really surfaced in the New York area as far as I understand. And that's interesting that it didn't. But obviously, are we saying that there was something afoot here, where that they wanted to kibosh that without a doubt?
Well, it's a real good high school rebellion movie of its day. It has all the kids that are in the high school and they're trying to do their scene, and and it's just sort of like it's oriented towards a high school audience. And Adam really likes that scene where all the high school kids end up on the beach and they're all like doing this weird sex dance, like beach blanket Babylon. It's like a big Dionysian like mating ritual on the beach sand.
Well, you know why Adam likes it then. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Doug.
It's interesting. There's a figure in that go-go dance scene out there on the beach who resembles Charles Manson.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that right, Doug?
Yeah, absolutely. Long-haired dude, long black hair. He has a scruffy beard, and he's just spazzing out, doing this like wild hippie, dance, with the jerking around and.
So there's things like,
freak.
Yeah, there's little things like that in the movie that you go, wow, were they, is it a prelude to something? Were they programming us? And throughout the whole movie, Tuesday Weld she's sort of this strange figure who somebody discovers, and she's made into a star, and it's like she's kind of controlling the whole thing behind the scenes, her being discovered and her becoming a star. At least that's kind of my take on it.
All right, I have some pointed questions to ask you because the paper that you guys have written. Now, let me ask you this. You've got an article that's going to come out. Can any one of you tell me where that might surface or when that might surface? Doug, what about that?
Well, Adam might have it come out in his flagship publication for Untamed Dimensions.
All right.
We're working on a couple things, Viz, but still in the works. But we'll get it out there as soon as possible.
I'm afraid we're also submitted it to Paranoia, but I think they're probably afraid of a libel lawsuit or something.
Well, okay, fine. But I mean, you've done. I tell you what, you've done good stuff. I mean, whatever that means coming from me. But I do want to address some stuff because you've definitely hit upon some real big veins. And one of them is, as we go through this, you're talking about Weld being a Fabian socialist, which you don't use that term haphazardly. If she in fact is one, then she is also plugged into the whole idea of the world being ruled by, I'm just going to say this, okay, by rich white old men. What about that? I think you guys are exactly right. Fabian socialism is up and running. People can hit that website right now for what they want to check out, and understand also in this clique was personages like H.G. Wells, Cecil Rhodes, Lord Milner, the Webbs, George Bernard Shaw. I'll stop right there. But that you mentioned her connection with this group, I think, is basically huge.
Well, see, the thing is like I don't know if that came out in the article we penned. I know I mentioned Jeff's assertion that Tuesday Weld actually met Fidel Castro during, I guess it was during his famous visit to New York City, not long after the Cuban Revolution. And Castro went to New York City, and he was there for about 10 days, and he was staying in some hotel. And Jeff says that Weld sought Fidel Castro out. That's something that only he says. The Fabian socialist thing is more of like an assertion of a cultural milieu where you have these art bohemian elite cultural circles in New York, Los Angeles, Paris, and London, and the cocktail circuit, and the people tend to be kind of liberal/socialist. It's just like
that's true.
That's the the milieu that these liberal, bohemian, more culturally oriented elites are oriented towards. They're not going to be the sort of people that are going to be like right-wing fascist types. This is more that you're in military/industrialist type people that are going to be more gravitate towards that type of outlook. And she did have connections among these people, according to Jeff. I totally believe it, although I don't think she was like consciously like a like I don't think her main goal was political. I think her main focus was cultural and social change.
But I mean, that's an important thing too, Doug, because you really can get more done, honestly, through cultural means than if you try to attack the society frontal with political stuff. Because especially the young people, they're going to like just turn you off. So if you can infiltrate whatever is going on through a soft side, if we could say that, you'll probably get more distance from it. And so when you mention about the Fabian socialists, that makes perfect sense, because they are elites. They've always thought that it's the burden of the white man, and I'm telling you, extant. It's the burden of the white man to rule the world, and that is expressly European Anglo mentality, I think, of which Weld was an exponent to a certain extent. How do you feel about that?
Well, you have to understand that the Fabian socialism came out of Britain, and this Druidic network is fundamentally oriented towards the British Isles. So it's a perfect means for, for British domination of the world, which in a sense means Druidic domination of the world.
Right.
So there's a natural alliance there.
Hey, one thing, the Fabian socialists, Viz, were they behind Tavistock?
Nobody really knows. I'll be honest with you, Adam. Good question. Tavistock just seems to be there, but But by the way, who's behind that mind-op?
Right, and I've heard allegations over the years that Tavistock heavily influenced the 60 counterculture, and perhaps were even propping up the Beatles.
Well, and though too, despite the lack of evidence about Adorno. And
right.
Tavistock, there is a connectivity there, but more than that also, and you guys are right out there, what kind of role did Stanford Research Institute play as well? Because that is probably Tavistock West. We'll never really know, and I don't mean to throw out too many, red herrings out there, but we got to consider that was a very interesting place where you guys live. And, of course, as you know, Adam, I've always questioned now whether or not, Kesey was a good guy, or whether he helped, a mind-op deal.
Or a useful idiot.
Yeah, and I mean, Doug may not be privy to all this because we've not, all three of us, discussed this, but I mean, something was going on without a doubt, and think tanks are there for a reason, and the SRI out by you guys, you got to wonder. And so I don't know if that means anything to you, Doug, but I mean, obviously, out in California, you have the Stanford Research Institute, you got Hollywood. It was the focal point, obviously, especially in the 60s. I mean, everything, obviously California, the Bay Area, down to, whatever, L.A., was an epicenter for real cultural change.
And, the CIA basically funded the acid that Kesey got, came indirectly through the CIA. And part of Jeff Turner's assertions was that Tuesday Weld was dialed into this whole psychedelic network, and she influenced the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. So it seems like sort of the same type of influences were going on here that were being channeled through, Stanford and Tavistock, perhaps.
I mean, Doug, what about that? I mean, I don't know if that's, if that's, new information upon your brow, but...
Let me throw out something there.
Sure, go ahead.
Lyndon LaRouche, he's the guy who has all those tables they set up on the college campuses.
Yeah, we know Lyndon,
And they're all obsessed about the British monarchy trying to take over the world, secretly controlling drug profits and the banking system and this kind of stuff, and they think everything is like a British conspiracy to rule the world. Well, what's interesting there is LaRouche says that these British elite types like Huxley and I don't know the names.
We said Rhodes and Milner and all those in the webs.
Yeah, he says that in the 50s and 60s, these guys had a deliberate agenda of bringing about like a Dionysian, cultural revolution under their guidance and control, and he sees this whole thing that went on at Stanford Research Institute and the whole psychedelic revolution as being part of this British secret society agenda to bring about a Dionysian cultural revolution, which they would control the masses, and it would be under their control. And what's interesting there is, well, this whole Tuesday Weld Brudic network tied to the British Isles would tend to fit into that framework
paradigm,
how to view the conspiracy. That is ultimately coming from Britain. That this is, and you have to also understand that our financial system, that the idea is the secret societies are fundamentally allied with our East Coast elite and the international banking cartel is the traditional paradigm. Well, our banking system was penetrated by British capitalists and European capitalists. Andrew Jackson, our president who fought the bank war, specifically warned that if we allow the Bank of the United States to be renewed, this is going to allow the British capitalists, the British bankers, to gain control over the United States again. That was like the major feature, one of the top things in his time as president of the United States was Andrew Jackson was focused on what was called the bank war, and they did win. The Federal Reserve System, a lot of analysts believe, is as much under the control of British and European investors as American investors.
Hey, Adam, I love this guy. You're absolutely right, Doug. Jackson killed the bank, but the bank was not to be killed, and it did have 2 or 3 renewals until Jackson stopped it. But in 1913, it came roaring back with the amendment for the income tax and also the Federal Reserve Act. And you're absolutely right. And to an extent, LaRouche to me is a gangster. He's a global gangster, and he has a whole bunch of minions out there who I've done battle with, and they suck. Basically. But anyway, we're looking at influences from outside because the United States has always been something that Europeans have, or conglomerates, let's put it that way, and bankers in particular, have siphoned off our best blood. And that continues to happen all through the 20th century into today. But still in all, as it regards Tuesday Weld, and I'm not straying from this. I'm trying to focus in more about it. When you talk about, her involvement in this situation, I told Adam that I had looked in the Skull and Bones directory going back to their inception for Weld or Kerr, K-E-R, and could find nothing. But I also
they're a Harvard family. Welds are Harvard.
Oh but just hear me out. I said to Adam, I said, look, I can't find them in Skull and Bones. That doesn't mean that they were not ensconced New Englanders. It just wasn't there. And I said, Adam will tell you this. I said, Adam, I can't find them there, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not permeated through that society, because that is just a really small microcosm, though powerful. So as Adam will tell you, I'm like, well, okay, I didn't find them there, but that doesn't define the whole situation. And Adam, if you'll bear me out, also confirm that with me, and also kick it off to Doug.
I confirm it.
No, because I said it's no big deal. They don't have to show their footprint in that situation. And so, Doug, as far as the New England, aristocracy and the shenanigans they were up to, are you aware of their footprints in that, at that particular time in America?
Well, the thing I would suggest in terms of the Welds in New England is to just look at who's who in America at a university library and go way back. Like some of these libraries have the volumes going back to like 1930, year by year, and just look at the biographies of the Welds, and they're all like investment bankers, prominent college administrators. They have Masonic awards and all these, these society clubs they belong to, and Harvard is the college, the university that shows up again and again and again. It's Harvard that is the traditional college that the Welds would go to. And in terms of their power in U.S. history, the definite public record that everybody can find out by just reading history books is the impact of Theodore Dwight Weld as one of the great abolitionists, and his impact on abolitionism, and the fact that Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel Uncle Tom's Cabin was based on notes that Theodore Dwight Weld wrote. Earlier, if you go back in time, Thomas Weld was this New England clergyman who was very important in the 1600s and was involved in the uproar involving Anne Hutchinson, the early Puritan dissident that got in trouble with the authorities because she refused to bow to the authority of the ministers. And Thomas Weld was a prominent Puritan minister who wrote a scathing attack on her. And William Weld, of course, was governor of Massachusetts. He was ambassador to Mexico and was thinking about running for the Republican nomination for president. He would have been a liberal Republican. It's more oriented towards the liberal wing of the Republican Party, not a social conservative. And he decided to back out of the race early on.
With regard to the landscape, if you will, during, I guess, the early 60s, with regard to television, you also feel that Weld played a role, and I'm not going to say that you're not right, but I would like you to articulate that, because we look at two shows that I remember, interestingly, came out on two networks. One was The Addams Family. The other was The Munsters. Now, you've got an interesting take on that, and I'm not so sure that you're not right. So would you lay that on me?
Well, the Addams Family is definitely like this beatnik family. All these oddball characters. They're like your local neighbors in the mid-'60s that were beatniks and hippies and smoke pot while everybody else is putting their kids in Sunday school and is all conservative and making their kids wear little ties and sweaters. And here's this family who lives in your neighborhood, and they're like the freaks in the neighborhood. And Adam's family was like a completely beatnik family.
That's my family.
Okay. Well, I got a little footnote for you guys, but go ahead, go do it.
The little girl in the Addams Family was Wednesday, and she's like, I don't know, the little 7 or 8 year old kid. And the story goes is the very first episode of the Addams Family, the kid's name was Tuesday, and then they changed the name to Wednesday for the subsequent.
Okay.
That's the legend.
All right. Okay. And so why is the Munsters the antidote to the Addams Family? Because they were definitely concurrent, and there was a battle on the stations for that, and I remember that very clearly.
Well, supposedly, this is what Jeff says. Jeff says that the right-wingers in Hollywood were gained, they heard the rumors that the Illuminati liberal left in Hollywood was going to come out with this new horror film show called The Addams Family. So they came out with their own counter-strike, their own show, which was The Munsters. And then what's interesting there is like I haven't seen the show in like 15 years, but 20 years, but the beautiful blonde daughter, she looks like some sort of Teutonic Aryan.
Yeah, right. And she's the weirdo in the family.
And then Herman Munster is like this Frankenstein type of figure. Munster is a German name, by the way. Yeah, Munster. There's a city in Germany called Munster, Germany. So that's the idea. It's like the right wing, even the Nazi elements in Hollywood came out with their counter-strike against the Addams Family. Addams Family had a lot of little slaps at the McCarthyist spirit in Hollywood. I was shocked to see it about a number of years ago and go, wow, that's a slap at McCarthyism. Mm-hmm. My God, this came out in '66 and they're mocking McCarthyism. Wow.
I tell you what, that's another whole story, and if we have a little time left over, we'll do it. I'm not going to force you guys to stay within the constraints of another 5 minutes. That makes an hour. On the other hand, I'm not going to be generous with your time, but if you don't mind, there's a couple of things I'd like to clear up, and if you can stay over a little bit, I think it'll be well worth your time if you're okay with that. Doug, how do you feel about that?
Well, sure, but I first of all wanted to finish a thought that we left hanging earlier in the show about Hotel California.
Do it. No
okay,
problem.
now this is the thing. I'd mentioned that New Times Magazine did an interview with Tuesday Weld, and it came out in like November 1977. But what I didn't get around to mentioning was the interview took place at the Chateau Marmont, where legend has it Hotel California, the scene that became the subject of that song took place there about a year or two before. And when she got to the interview, she was wearing a black witch's hat and a black witch's dress, and she reminisced about her time she lived there. Now there's another one too. In 1979, Rolling Stone magazine came out with a cover story on the Eagles, and it was called The Eagles, Their Slow Burn in the Rock and Roll Inferno. And so there on the cover of Rolling Stone is a picture of the Hotel California. There are she-devils dancing on the roof of the Hotel California. There are flames coming up from the roof, and then in the foreground are pictures of like cow skulls, rattlesnakes. There's cactus with sharp barbs, and you're thinking, what is going on here? Like, what is all these dark symbols
with that?
of death, rattlesnakes, skulls, symbols of death, and then the she-devils dancing on the roof of the Hotel California, which is on flames? What did these editors know? Or what did the person who wrote the story know?
Yep.
That came out in 1979, Rolling Stone magazine, I believe in November.
Adam, you want to chime in on that?
I got a little distracted there. I made radio history. I went to the bathroom while you guys were discussing that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
And outside, it's like a horror movie outside, actually. It's pouring down rain and the thunder's busting, but I don't have anything to chime in besides that. But, you look at that 60s countercultural scene, and the Summer of Love, it was all, goodness and light on the surface.
Right.
But if you look deeper into it, there was a lot of dark specters around, Phil Spector for one, but just a lot of strangeness and dark vibes going down with that whole scene that kind of culminated with that Altamont.
Well, I'm going to kick something back to you, and you're going to hand it off to Doug, no doubt. And something that was raised in the article, I think that's very worth looking at, is the Manchurian Candidate. All right, and I'll kick in with something after you address that, which I think would be of merit. So whoever wants to feel that, by all means do so, and then I'll give you what I got.
Take it away, Doug. This assertion that he makes, that it's a co-written article, but in particular the movie The Manchurian Candidate, the assertion,
about the original Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, the assertion Doug makes there is, I quite don't know what to make of myself. It's indeed intriguing. Take it away, Doug.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, this is, first of all, the movie that Frank Sinatra starred in.
Yeah.
And he got the control of the rights to the film, and he sat on it for like 30 years. And the movie was not available for like 30 years. And he did it because his close friend John Kennedy was assassinated about a year or 9 months
after
the release of Manchurian Candidate. But the movie is about the assassination of a political candidate by a mind-controlled killer.
But I mean, the book the movie's based on a book, and the gentleman did a great job. And
that's the problem with this is you're right, and I would need to go back, and I've never had a chance to read Condon's The Manchurian Candidate to see how much did they play with the actual novel and emphasize stuff that wasn't even there, wasn't important in the novel, or... for instance, that strange woman who's in the background, played by Janet Leigh, and she meets Frank Sinatra on a railroad train, I believe, and then she's hovering around him for the rest of the movie at crucial scenes, and her role is never explained. She talks in strange, cryptic,
syntax,
enigmatic phrases. You don't. Her role in the whole story is never defined, and what's interesting there is she looks a little bit like Tuesday Weld, the young, beautiful, blonde woman, and she comes across as almost like one could see her as the control, like this person is in the background to keep an eye on things, and she knows that the plot is going on, and she's there to
facilitate it.
Monitor it. And in terms of the film, the screenplay was written by George Axelrod, who later went on to become the director of Lord Lovejoy.
Isn't that interesting?
It is, and I would throw something else out to you guys, and this, I think, will make the cauldron boil even better, because I'm with you on all that you've said. But there's one thing also, after I read your paper and thought about things, and here's the thing that really bugged me. If we can believe that Sinatra was somewhat, trying to protect the country, if you will, am I saying that right? With the Manchurian Candidate release after Kennedy's assassination, are we okay on that?
Well, he would just consider it extremely bad taste.
Go ahead. All right.
And that's the immediate thing is just like I can't allow this film to be shown.
All right.
It's just too painful,
but Doug,
rubbing salt in the wound.
It might have hurt his public image as well. So who knows his motivations?
Let me throw this out to you. This might not be an aha, but this thing has always struck me as being, if not equal or more, curious. Do you remember that Sinatra played a movie as an assassin?
Oh, yeah.
In 1954, suddenly.
Yeah, and he was a presidential assassin, wasn't he?
Yes, and that thing to me is more chilling, if not as equally chilling, as the Manchurian Candidate. So what was going on with that 54 film? And let me throw it to you guys. Doug first, do you have any feelings about that? And afterwards, Adam.
Are you suggesting that Sinatra himself was being programmed?
No, Doug, we feel around darkly, honestly, and we don't know. But that movie, to me, was so precise. I don't think necessarily that the personages and the principals in the movies know exactly what's going on. But to me, when I stand back, somebody's got to know something. Either they're, unfortunately, shall I say, lucky, or they know. And so I stand back from that, and I throw that kind of ball up to you guys. So, Doug, I mean, when you look at that 54 movie, that chilled me more, if not equally, with looking back at Manchurian Candidate, after the time when I got it, which I would say was back in 2001. I know that's a little cryptic, but Doug, would you speak to that 1954 suddenly, and what you think? You think that was like an accident?
Well, first of all, I've never even heard of this movie until you mentioned it, so I'm kind of clueless.
Okay, that's fine.
Trying to make sense of this, unless I were to see the movie and get a feel for it.
Well, let me throw it over to Adam, who will throw it back to you for the Manchurian Candidate. Adam, are you familiar with Suddenly?
Yes, it's been quite a while, but it was a chilling movie, and it seemed very realistic.
And
Sinatra basically As I recall, he's a cold-blooded assassin.
He's the assassin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm not drawing any inferences, but here
right.
you have Sinatra, and when I saw that, I was really uncomfortable with it. Now, let's go back with Doug. Forget the Sinatra thing. The Manchurian Candidate, really, I think, an excellent portrayal of the way things really are, and they were telling the American populace this back in 1962, prior to Kennedy's assassination by what do we call Lee Harvey Oswald and his crew. So Doug, take that, please.
Well, as I mentioned, regarding the Manchurian Candidate, I definitely would want to read the original novel and see how much was written into the film by Axelrod.
Okay.
What did he do with the original novel? How did he change the nuances of the film and give emphasis to angles that weren't really significant in the novel? And because that woman, Janet Leigh, is just so prominently portrayed in the film. Maybe it was just a minor character in the novel. And Axelrod, as we're saying, we're suggesting that he had a connection with Weld. He was one of her lieutenants in Hollywood, or one of her followers, or camp followers in Hollywood. So what is Axelrod's angle for promoting Janet Leigh, the role Janet Leigh plays, as such a prominent central character in the film, this figure being so enigmatic, so crucial to the mystery of the film? Is that in the original novel? That's the question I would ask.
And I mean, Weld would have been 19 when that movie came out, so she would not be anywhere a selection of choice. Janet Leigh obviously is, you could say, an extension. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, and that like you said, her kind of like murky insertion in the movie cannot be overlooked. Am I right in saying that?
Remember who was murdered in Psycho?
Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh, yeah.
In 62.
I want to say about the novel, The Manchurian Candidate. It's been a long time since I read it, but I remember it being one of the best all-time books. And I think it was pretty close. The movie was pretty close to what was in the book.
The movie depiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Doug, I mean, again, do you want to chime in on that? If you remember, I mean, I think that movie, I mean, when I look at that movie, it is, to me, heads and shoulders, in reality, above the remake that we had, like a year or two ago?
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, again, I mean, Doug, I mean, Adam and I are on the same page, but by all means, what do you feel about, the first depiction of that movie and its successor?
Well, see, I haven't seen the new Manchurian Candidate. I wanted to. There's so many movies I just haven't gotten around to seeing. So I'm basically just focused on the 1962 Manchurian Candidate, and I think it's interesting that Adam points out that the book seems to follow the novel pretty closely. Oh, by the way, another historic movie that fits into the secret society genre, possibly, is also based on a famous novel, and that's the movie The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting there is that falcon becomes an incredible focus in that novel, and you see that falcon and the cameras focus on it, and it's a symbol of mystery and power. It was supposedly owned by some medieval, like Holy Roman Emperor, like one of the emperors in the Middle Ages, and it was controlled by the Knights of Malta. And the thing is, the Knights of Malta, it's a Roman Catholic lay organization that is a sovereign military order.
Agreed.
And in World War II, there's still a lot of mystery about what sort of behind-the-scenes diplomatic role the Knights of Malta were trying to bring about through secret contacts with the British. They had contacts with the German high command, people that were opposed to Hitler. And there's still a lot of stuff that's unknown about what it was actually going on with that organization in World War II. But what's interesting here is a lot of the British elite families in Scotland, are members of the Knights of Malta, and are also Templar. Yep. There's an overlap there. The Knights of Malta. And so what is this focus on the Maltese Falcon? This intense spy mystery. And I would say that movie is another movie that has this, like, secret society mystique about it that isn't really... It's worth exploring and investigating, trying to find out what's the story behind the story, you know.
Adam, he doesn't realize he's found fertile fields. Yes, and you guys can talk about
I've spent a lot of time with Doug, and he's a wealth of information. He could go on and on.
Well, I hope before my time is done, we can revisit this. Doug, you are dead on as far as I'm concerned. Adam may not, necessarily go down those roads, but he doesn't avoid them. But he understands that things do go bump in the night. But honestly, both of you guys, this is good stuff, and we can do this forever and ever. And honestly, I wish we could. So, Doug Hawes, I thank you very much. Now, again, one last time, is there anything, anywhere, that people can go and check out what you've done, not only now, but if you're thinking in the future, your information will pop up on the website. Can you give us what that might be?
Well, it certainly will be on Untamed Dimensions, Adam's website, which...
what a surprise.
There's a lot of stuff up there. I mean, I can't believe how much stuff Adam comes up with. He's a hard-working radio journalist. And
yes, he is.
He keeps doing these interviews with characters I never even heard of.
Like me?
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug.
But, I would indeed just follow my blog, the Untamed Dimensions blog, and when we do have this article published, wherever it ends up, I'll be sure to publicize it there.
Obviously, I had some questions about the validity of this whole situation, but honestly, Adam says that you better check it out, and I'm like, and Doug, no affront to you, but when Adam says, like, I want to take a look at this closer, after I heard your first interviews, I said, okay, hence you're here, and I'm glad you've been here, and I enjoyed your presence, and Adam, always, it means like, whatever, we can talk about, like garbage, and we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But to both of you gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And, if it warrants it, please come back again, because until I close, I ain't closed. Good night, Doug.
All right. Well, it's been great, and maybe another time.
Let's hope for that, honestly. And, Doug, thanks again. And also, Adam, I'll see you when the sun shines.
You got it, bud.
All right, adios.
Until that time, Maxwell.
Until that time. Good night, bros.